Before we get to the story, take a second to give this video a like and subscribe. Your contribution to the development of the channel is invaluable. Thank you. The early morning light crept through the slats of the window blinds in my East Village loft, casting gentle shadows that danced along the walls. I awoke from a night punctuated by mysterious visions, fleeting images where the past intertwined with hints of an unwritten future. In the haze of my dreams, memories of a simpler time merged with enigmatic symbols of what might come, leaving me with a lingering sense of both longing and possibility. As I sat up in the cool morning, the subtle aroma of fresh tea with basil filled the room, a thoughtful gift from my neighbor, a charismatic woman known affectionately on the block as the barista with a heart of gold. The warm, herbaceous fragrance served as a tender reminder that life was brimming with small, unexpected wonders. In that moment, I recognized the urgent call to break free from the monotonous patterns that had begun to confine me, to seek out the genuine, vibrant experiences life had to offer. I pulled on a soft, oversized sweater and padded barefoot to the small, cluttered kitchen. The hum of the city waking outside my window was punctuated by distant sounds of early traffic and the occasional murmur of conversation from neighbors just beginning their day. With each deliberate sip of the comforting tea, I felt the remnants of the night's fantastical visions blend with the promise of a fresh start, a day that might very well defy the boundaries of ordinary existence. In that brief, crystalline moment, as I stood on the threshold between sleep and wakefulness, I sensed that the day was destined for adventure. The familiar walls of my loft no longer seemed confining. Instead, they resonated with the echoes of uncharted possibilities. I was ready to embrace a day where every ordinary encounter might transform into an extraordinary story, one that could lead me closer to the love, passion, and authentic living I had long yearned for. The morning unfurled like a vivid tapestry as I stepped out of my loft, drawn by the distant hum of celebration. Instead of the usual routine of grocery shopping, I found myself immersed in the bustling energy of a street festival dedicated to craftsmanship and urban creativity. The city's arteries pulsed with the excitement of artisans displaying their wares, while the melodic strains of street musicians blended harmoniously with the chatter of excited festival-goers. Winding through narrow cobblestone streets, I was enveloped by the festival's warm glow. Stalls laden with handcrafted jewelry, vibrant paintings, and intricate sculptures lined the pathways. The air was perfumed with an eclectic mix of scents, from freshly baked pastries to the earthy aroma of roasted coffee beans. Every step felt like a dive into an unexplored realm where creativity reigned supreme, and each corner offered a fresh delight waiting to be discovered. Amid the crowd, my attention was irresistibly captured by a charming figure. Carter, a spirited violinist with soulful eyes and an effortless air of mystery, stood at the center of a small gathering. His violin sang a story of far-off places and the quiet resilience of the human spirit, enchanting every listener. Between his performance, his animated expressions and occasional laughter resonated with a deep-seated passion for life. He recounted tales of his humble beginnings in a small town, the transformative journey to New York, and the serendipitous moments that had led him to this very festival. His narrative was woven with the delicate threads of humor and bittersweet nostalgia, stirring something profound within me. As I lingered near his makeshift stage, I sensed that every note he played was a reflection of his journey, each melody a reminder that our paths, no matter how disparate, could intersect in the most unexpected moments. The festival was not just a celebration of art and craft, but a living canvas that encouraged onlookers like me to dream beyond the rigid confines of everyday life. The spontaneity of the event stirred a long-forgotten desire for adventure, making me yearn to experience life in its purest, most unscripted form. In that radiant morning light, With the lively festival as my backdrop and Carter's soulful music echoing in my ears, I felt a subtle yet profound shift. It was as if the festival had gently whispered a promise that every moment held the potential for magic, and that embracing these serendipitous encounters might just lead me to rediscover the vibrant pulse of life. Later that day, drawn by the promise of discovering hidden stories in unconventional spaces, I made my way to an experimental art gallery renowned for its living performances. Unlike a traditional gallery, this space pulsed with life. Walls that once silently bore paintings now served as a canvas for fluid, ever-changing emotions. Artists mingled with their creations, their gestures and expressions as vivid as the colors splashed across the walls. The ambient lighting was soft and immersive, lending the room an almost ethereal quality, as if each piece of art were a living testament to the human soul. Stepping into the gallery, I was immediately captivated by the scene unfolding before me. In one corner, a group of painters engaged in an impromptu workshop, their brushes moving with fervor as if each stroke were a secret shared only with the universe. Amid this creative fervor, my eyes met those of a man who seemed to embody the very spirit of the gallery, Ethan. His presence was magnetic, and his gaze, full of sincere intensity and quiet strength, commanded attention without a single word. He moved gracefully among the clusters of artists and onlookers, his every gesture a silent invitation to explore the depths of emotion that permeated the space. Ethan was leading a masterclass in live painting, his hands deftly coaxing images onto canvases while narrating the profound interplay between color and emotion. His voice carried the weight of personal history and the delicate promise of transformation. As he spoke about how each brushstroke could capture the nuances of a fleeting feeling, a moment of hope, a trace of melancholy, or the quiet triumph of overcoming inner turmoil, I felt an inexplicable pull, as if he were painting not only on the canvas but also on the delicate fabric of my heart. I lingered at the periphery of the workshop, absorbing every word and every emotion that seemed to seep from Ethan's expressions. He spoke of art as a language that transcended the boundaries of words, a medium that allowed the soul to communicate its most intimate secrets. His narrative was not a recitation of technical details. Rather, it was a poetic exposition of life itself, a reminder that vulnerability and beauty are inextricably intertwined. In his voice, I discerned echoes of my own unspoken desires, those quiet longings for connection and meaning that had been buried beneath the routines of daily existence. The atmosphere in the gallery was electric yet intimate. Each attendee appeared as if caught in a shared moment of introspection, their eyes glistening with a blend of curiosity and hope. Ethan's masterful storytelling and his empathetic engagement with the audience transformed the space into a sanctuary of living emotions. In that moment, amidst the swirling interplay of colors and heartfelt expressions, I recognized that I was witnessing more than just an art session. I was part of an unfolding dialogue between souls, a silent communion that spoke of both pain and possibility. As the session drew to a close, I found myself lingering near Ethan's side, not out of timidity, but with a burgeoning sense of anticipation. Every word he uttered, every brushstroke he made, seemed to peel away layers of isolation, inviting me to embrace a life rich with raw, unfiltered experiences. I knew that this encounter was not a mere interlude. It was a catalyst, a moment that would irrevocably alter the trajectory of my heart and my perception of what it meant to truly live. As the late afternoon gave way to dusk, the city's pulse began to slow into a softer, more intimate rhythm. I found myself drawn to a quaint cafe tucked away on a cobbled side street, renowned for its nightly showcase of live music. The venue was a hidden gem, a warmly lit haven where the hum of lively chatter blended with the soothing strains of acoustic melodies. The cafe's interior, with its mismatched vintage furniture and walls adorned with local art, exuded a sense of history and character, inviting every patron to relax and lose themselves in the moment. I settled into a snug corner table, the gentle clink of cutlery and soft murmur of conversations creating an understated symphony. The aroma of freshly ground coffee and delicate pastries swirled in the air, intensifying the cafe's allure. Just as I was beginning to absorb the scene, fate intervened in the most delightful manner. Ethan appeared, as if conjured by the very essence of the evening. His presence illuminated the space, his quiet confidence and kind eyes sparking an immediate connection that felt both unexpected and profoundly familiar. Ethan greeted me with a warm smile that carried a trace of mischief and genuine care. "I'm glad you could join me," he said, his tone both tender and inviting. Over a shared cup of aromatic latte, our conversation flowed effortlessly from one subject to another. Ethan recounted a recent escapade, a heartwarming incident where he'd rescued a stray cat from the brink of the rain. His narrative, rich with humor and a palpable tenderness for life's small miracles, stirred something deep within me. Each anecdote was a window into his soul, revealing layers of compassion and a resilient spirit forged through both hardship and joy. The live band began to tune their instruments, and soon the cafe was filled with an enchanting melody that seemed to capture the essence of the night. Against the backdrop of softly lit candles and the gentle murmur of fellow patrons, Ethan and I delved into discussions about our past experiences and dreams for the future. There was no pretense in our exchange, only an unvarnished sincerity that made each word feel like a promise. We spoke of lost loves and rediscovered hopes, our conversation punctuated by moments of comfortable silence that said more than words ever could. As the evening deepened, the music swelled to a crescendo, wrapping us in its bittersweet embrace. I found myself captivated not only by the soulful tunes, but by the subtle, unspoken language that passed between us, a silent acknowledgement that in that fleeting moment, we had found a refuge from the uncertainties of the world. With every shared smile and thoughtful glance, the cafe transformed into a cocoon of intimacy and possibility, where the past was gently set aside in favor of a future yet to be written. Beneath the velvet cloak of twilight, the city transformed into a realm of shimmering possibilities. The soft amber glow of streetlights cast intricate shadows on the pavement as I navigated winding alleys still echoing with the cafe's fading murmurs. It was then that Ethan, his eyes alight with a mischievous determination, stepped close. In a low, earnest tone, he said, "I have something extraordinary planned tonight. There's an abandoned warehouse turned interactive art space, a labyrinth of enigmas waiting for us." His invitation, impulsive and charged with promise, stirred a long dormant spark within me. Without a second thought, I agreed, eager to trade the predictable for an adventure into the unknown. We left the familiar comfort of routine behind and ventured into the embrace of night. The warehouse loomed ahead, a vast concrete monument cloaked in mystery. Faded neon signs and errant splashes of graffiti hinted at past revelries, while sporadic, artful bursts of light revealed fragments of creative chaos. The building's facade, both imposing and inviting, seemed to whisper secrets of forgotten dreams. With every step towards the entrance, my heart pounded louder, blending excitement with a trace of apprehension. Inside, the cool air was thick with anticipation. Shadows danced along the rough walls, animated by pulsating soundscapes that merged experimental beats with subtle echoes of laughter and whispered conversations. Interactive installations beckoned from every corner. Panels of cryptic symbols, immersive light displays that shifted with a gentle touch, and unexpected sculptures that appeared almost alive. Ethan led the way with confident strides, his hand occasionally brushing mine in a silent reassurance that this quest was not merely about uncovering art, but about rediscovering ourselves. Every corridor promised a new discovery, every turn, a chance to confront hidden memories and unspoken desires. In that surreal labyrinth of light, shadow, and raw creative energy, the boundary between reality and fantasy blurred. My pulse quickened as I realized that tonight was not simply an impulsive detour, it was an invitation to awaken parts of my soul, long dormant. With Ethan by my side, I surrendered to the night's thrilling cadence, stepping boldly into a world where art, adventure, and the possibility of transformation intertwined in a mesmerizing dance. The labyrinth of art and mystery led us deeper into the night, where every shadow and whisper hinted at revelations yet to be unveiled. In a narrow corridor of the abandoned warehouse, where the ambient light shifted unpredictably and the echo of our footsteps intertwined with the muted sounds of distant installations, Ethan and I found ourselves alone. The space, dimly lit by sporadic beams of neon that filtered through broken skylights, transformed the raw concrete into a canvas of fleeting secrets. It was here, in this almost sacred solitude, that the layers of our guarded selves began to peel away. We paused before an installation that mimicked a cascade of starlight, its delicate luminescence urging us to confront the darkness with newfound bravery. Ethan's eyes, reflecting the shifting hues of the light, softened with vulnerability. In a voice that was both quiet and compelling, he began to recount fragments of his past, tales of mistakes made in the fervor of youth, losses that had left indelible marks on his heart, and the small yet significant acts of kindness that had helped him heal. His words, spoken with raw honesty and a measured pace, resonated deeply in the cavernous space between us. As he shared his journey, I felt compelled to match his candor. I revealed long-held memories of missed chances and the quiet desperation of feeling invisible amidst the chaos of life. Each confession felt like a step into the light, banishing shadows that had lingered too long in my own history. In that fragile exchange, the weight of our respective pasts lifted slightly, replaced by the possibility of understanding and shared empathy. The intimacy of the moment escalated as the silence that followed our confessions grew charged with unspoken emotions. Our proximity, the soft rustle of fabric, and the gentle hum of the art around us created an atmosphere where vulnerability was not only safe, but celebrated. In a decisive yet tender moment, Ethan reached out, his hand brushing against mine, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that had been forged in our mutual revelations. Time seemed to suspend as our eyes locked, both of us teetering on the brink of a transformation that felt both inevitable and miraculous. Under the fractured glow of neon, our faces illuminated with raw sincerity, and then, with an unspoken invitation, our lips met in a hesitant yet electrifying first kiss. It was a kiss that carried the echoes of our confessions, the hope for new beginnings, and the promise that the night, with all its secrets and revelations, had not come to an end, but was merely evolving into something far more profound. In that enchanted, clandestine corner of the abandoned warehouse, every heartbeat was a testament to the power of vulnerability and the beauty of rediscovery. The kiss lingered like a fragile vow, a promise of future chapters filled with both tenderness and courage, a testament to the fact that even in the darkest corners of forgotten spaces, the light of genuine connection could be found. After the magnetic intimacy of the warehouse quest, Ethan and I found ourselves drawn to a vibrant nightclub that pulsed with energy and possibility. The venue was a labyrinth of sound and movement, where every beat of the bass seemed to echo the rapid cadence of our hearts. Neon lights flared in bold bursts, painting the dance floor in a mesmerizing interplay of colors, while the chatter of an exuberant crowd created an almost tangible hum of anticipation. Inside, the nightclub was a universe of contrasts: sharp angles and soft curves, abstract installations juxtaposed with vintage decor, and an atmosphere that straddled the fine line between electric excitement and reflective introspection. In a quiet alcove tucked away from the throng, we claimed a secluded table. Here, away from the immediate chaos of the dance floor, our conversation deepened into an exploration of who we were beyond the fleeting moments of passion. Ethan's voice was low and steady as he spoke about his past, with a measured honesty that transcended the ordinary. There was a time, he confided, when I believed every experience was merely a stepping stone. But tonight, amidst these dazzling lights and raw sounds, I sense something more profound, like life is urging me to reclaim the parts I left behind. His eyes, reflecting the subtle glow of neon, held an earnest vulnerability that resonated with my own concealed truths. I shared my journey as well, a tapestry of quiet rebellions and hidden desires, of days spent navigating the safe paths laid out by routine, and nights yearning for something untamed. It's as if, I murmured, the world has always offered us these rare opportunities to break free. I've been caught in the humdrum of expectations for too long, and tonight, I feel the pull towards a truth I can no longer ignore. My words flowed with an intensity that mingled the thrill of discovery with the ache of past regrets. Between us, the conversation shifted seamlessly from heartfelt reminiscences to the excitement of future possibilities. The clamor of the nightclub faded into a background symphony as we exchanged stories of personal triumphs and mistakes, each narrative a stepping stone towards understanding our inner selves. Our dialogue was not merely an exchange of words, it was a delicate dance of revelations, each sentence lifting the veil on long buried hopes and fears. The music, relentless and hypnotic, occasionally punctuated our quiet confessions, serving as a reminder that the night was still young and filled with uncharted moments. We discussed how the vibrant energy around us was like an invitation to live more vividly, to embrace both our scars and our dreams. In that intimate haven amid the club's relentless rhythm, every spoken word and every shared silence was charged with the promise of renewal. The first blush of dawn found me cradled in the back seat of a taxi, the world outside slowly emerging from the grip of night's enchantments into a sober morning reality. The city, now quieting after an unforgettable nocturnal symphony, felt almost surreal in its contrast to the pulsating energy of the night. As the taxi rumbled along familiar avenues, my mind replayed the vivid tapestry of emotions and revelations that had colored the hours before. Every heartbeat, every whispered secret shared with Ethan echoed like a promise of transformation, until a new, unexpected note intruded upon the fragile melody of my newfound freedom. My phone vibrated persistently on the seat beside me, its screen lighting up with a series of cold, detached voice messages. They were from Derek, my husband, whose tone now brimmed with an emotion I had not expected, an emotion that chilled me to the core. His messages were crisp and distant, a stark contrast to the warmth of the night's intimacy, and carried with them an unmistakable undercurrent of disapproval and foreboding. Each message was a reminder that despite the allure of spontaneous romance and the intoxicating taste of liberation, a world of obligations and expectations still awaited me. The messages were not of anger or jealousy as one might assume, but of a calculated warning, a plea to preserve the sanctity of a life that had once been comfortable and predictable. The taxi's interior, bathed in the soft light of early morning, suddenly felt claustrophobic, a confined space where past and present collided. I listened to Derek's words, a litany of concerns about stability, about change, about the perceived betrayal of a familiar life. His voice, once a source of companionship, now sounded like a stranger recounting an old story with unfamiliar detachment. The dichotomy between the liberating embrace of Ethan's passion and the cold practicality of Derek's admonitions created a tempest of conflicting emotions within me. I grappled with the stark realization that every beautiful dream was shadowed by the price of real-life consequences. In that moment, the lingering taste of the night's adventures mingled with a bittersweet sense of impending loss. The night's magic seemed to dissolve into a haze of guilt and uncertainty, as I contemplated the precarious balance between two distinct worlds, the enthralling promise of uncharted passion and the unyielding chains of a life already lived. As the taxi carried me closer to the heart of a waking city, I felt the weight of this duality press upon me, a silent challenge to decide whether the pursuit of genuine love and adventure was worth the potential sacrifice of stability and trust. The return to reality was a rude awakening, one that left me suspended between the allure of a reborn self and the inexorable pull of an old life that, despite its flaws, had once offered a semblance of order. In the quiet hum of the early hours, a profound question echoed in the confines of my thoughts. Could I risk shattering the familiar to embrace the promise of the unknown? The day wore on with a relentless mix of introspection and unexpected encounters that left my soul both exposed and buoyed by the raw honesty of human interaction. As I wandered through a bustling city square, my mind became a battleground where conflicting voices clashed, the cautious whispers of past security against the impulsive urges of a reawakened heart. Every step I took was punctuated by an inner dialogue, a silent debate between the yearning for liberation and the gravity of the life I had left behind. I found myself seated on a worn stone bench under the dappled light of a leafy canopy, the urban hum around me melding into a distant rhythmic pulse. In that moment, I began to question, was it possible to genuinely embrace a new self without severing the ties that once offered comfort? The familiar voice of Derek's admonitions mingled with Ethan's tender promises, creating an intricate inner symphony of doubt, hope, and a lingering sense of guilt. My thoughts raced, each a fragment of the past and a beacon for the future. I recalled the countless nights spent in safe isolation, only to be awakened by an insatiable desire for something more authentic, something daring. In the midst of these reverberating reflections, I was abruptly interrupted by the gentle interjection of a stranger, a soft-spoken elderly man with kind eyes who sat down beside me as if summoned by fate. His voice, seasoned with decades of lived experience, broke through my internal monologue. Young one, sometimes the echoes of our past can guide us towards the truth of who we are becoming. His words, simple yet profound, acted as a mirror to my inner turmoil. In a spontaneous conversation that bridged generations, he shared anecdotes of personal losses and triumphant rediscoveries, each story weaving a tapestry of resilience that resonated with my very core. As we spoke, other passers-by, an artist sketching in the park, and a group of lively friends laughing at a shared joke, became unwitting participants in my unfolding narrative. Their casual smiles and spontaneous greetings reminded me that every encounter, no matter how brief, held the potential to illuminate hidden facets of my being. In these fleeting moments, I recognized that life was not defined solely by monumental decisions, but also by the gentle, unplanned interludes that encouraged self-exploration. With each dialogue, both internal and external, I felt a subtle, transformative shift. The cacophony of doubt gradually gave way to a quiet confidence, a reassurance that embracing the unknown did not require the complete abandonment of what once was. Instead, it meant weaving together disparate threads of my identity into a richer, more vibrant tapestry. And so, amid the ordinary clamor of the city, I began to trust that the path toward authentic happiness was illuminated by the candid voices of both strangers and my own restless heart. Under a twilight sky punctuated by the first blush of stars, Ethan and I found ourselves wandering into the serene refuge of a botanical garden. The garden was a hidden world of lush greenery and exotic blooms, its winding paths flanked by ancient trees that whispered the secrets of countless seasons. The air was perfumed with a delicate blend of jasmine and earth, a natural balm that softened the edges of my recent tumult. Here, amidst the tranquil rustle of leaves and the gentle murmur of a nearby fountain, the pace of life slowed, inviting us to pause and truly converse. We settled on a weathered stone bench tucked away in a secluded corner, shielded by a cascade of flowering vines. The conversation that unfolded between us was both intimate and unguarded, a raw exchange of truths that had long been buried under the weight of routine and unspoken regrets. Ethan's eyes shone with an earnest light as he began. "There's something about this place. It feels like nature is urging us to reconsider everything. Every petal and leaf seems to tell me that change is not only inevitable, but beautiful." His words hung in the humid air, resonating with my own yearning for transformation. I hesitated for a moment before sharing my innermost reflections, my voice trembling with the gravity of the confession. "I've been living a life that feels safe, yet empty. A series of predictable days that never dared to touch the edges of possibility. Tonight, with you and in this garden of endless life, I realize that I've been denying myself the right to choose passion over comfort." The sincerity in my tone was met with a tender nod from Ethan, who replied, "Every choice we make etches a new path. Sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that lead us to our truest selves." In that luminous interlude, the garden transformed into a sacred arena for introspection and mutual understanding. The soft hum of nocturnal creatures and the rhythmic sighs of the wind seemed to underscore our dialogue, urging us to confront the duality of our existence, the safe embrace of the familiar versus the wild, uncertain allure of an uncharted future. As the night deepened, a premonition stirred within me, a whisper of destiny that warned that the decision ahead would not merely alter the course of a single evening, but redefine the very fabric of my life. Ethan's hand, warm and steady, brushed against mine, an unspoken promise that regardless of the choice looming before us, we would face it with honesty and courage. In that charged moment, as the garden bathed us in its timeless serenity, I felt both the weight and the wonder of possibility. The future, shrouded in uncertainty yet brimming with potential, beckoned with a silent insistence. The choice was imminent, and with it came the hope of finally embracing a life fully, beautifully lived. The final dawn broke with a weight that was both heavy and liberating, a moment that demanded the reckoning of two diverging realities. Returning home, I stepped into a space that seemed to exhale the cold, clinical air of a life built on routines and subdued resignation. Derek's world awaited me there, a realm where stability was prized over passion, and each day was measured by the absence of risk rather than the thrill of discovery. The familiar walls echoed with quiet indifference, the gentle hum of predictability, a constant reminder of a life that had long been devoid of genuine emotion. Yet, in the depths of my soul, a contrasting universe beckoned, a universe illuminated by the vivid hues of love, adventure, and raw sincerity, embodied in every moment shared with Ethan. The memory of his laughter, the tenderness in his eyes, and the pulse of our whispered dreams resonated like a heartbeat, urging me to break free from the chains of complacency. In the solitude of my room, the collision of these two worlds became impossible to ignore. I felt the cold, unyielding certainty of a stagnant past on one side, and on the other, a fragile yet undeniable promise of renewal. It was in a quiet, tension-laden instant, a moment when the silence around me was as profound as the inner storm, that I realized I could no longer straddle these two disparate lives. The safe harbor of the familiar, represented by Derek's measured presence, had long since lost its warmth, replaced by a sterile routine that choked the very essence of who I yearned to be. Meanwhile, the vibrant, albeit uncertain world that Ethan offered shimmered with possibility, its every moment an invitation to reclaim the parts of myself that had lain dormant. With a heart full of both trepidation and resolute hope, I made the choice to write my own narrative, a narrative fueled by passion, vulnerability, and the courage to embrace the unpredictable. I reached for my phone and sent a message that symbolized the severance of a past that no longer served me. In that instant, I felt the burden of old promises lift, replaced by the gentle warmth of a new beginning. Later that evening, beneath a sky dusted with twilight stars, I met Ethan. As we stood side by side, our fingers intertwined in a tender yet powerful grip, I sensed a quiet revolution stirring within me. In that embrace, the betrayal of a bygone life dissolved into the promise of something profoundly real, a fragile yet beautiful possibility of happiness. The old world receded, making way for a story unburdened by fear and regret, a story that I would now write with every raw, unfiltered beat of my heart.